ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living or get busy dying.
King first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review Trve Brewing Dunwich and give our first takes of Season 4 premiere of True Detective.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Bro, you were early on that.
Oh,
Bully.
little
Post.
early.
Fix it in post.
See how this beer...
Ooh, that's like a very kind of almost red-hued porter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I can smell it. Smells roasted. In this icy mug on this icy day.
Yeah, another Trve Brewing tonight. Makes sense. You don't have to really think too much to understand why.
Yes.
It's in alignment with... the only issue is I don't think there's enough Trve Brewing beers.
To do one for every episode.
Yeah, I think we'd run out. We'd have to reach out to them and be like, hey, can you guys send us like 10 beers?
Yep. They got a limited supply and a limited selection, but we like them so far.
Yeah,
we like them. They're good.
I have yet to have one that I didn't like. There's been ones that I thought were, like the JV team of their lineup, but still batting above what the other schools bring. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but Pat, tell us about the can. Tell us about this beer.
Can is like their other cans, matte black, which, as I said before, I'm a sucker for matte black. So they come in pint cans, and it's a really simple can with a intricate, piece of art on it. And we've got Trve Brewing Co. with this picture of a multi-eyed purple monster, a purple people eater, as it would look, because it does look like there's a guy stuck in the monster up on the top of it. He's been consumed in there.
Yeah.
And the eyes are shiny, these orange shiny eyes on the monster. And the Dunwich. What else does it have?
I think it's Dunwich.
Dunwich.
Yeah, like the old German, you know what I mean? Dunwich.
I know, but it's in England, so I wonder how they say it. I don't know.
There's Germans that went to England too.
Well, this is true. But they've got on this can, it was brewed and canned in Denver, Colorado. It's 5.4 ABV. And the malt is the Troubadour Truth with blue C30, Mod 300, Moonlight Wheat, and Simpson's Golden Naked Oats.
Honestly, though, like if you told me, like I was looking at some kind of like more like a lesser known kind of artistic. Have you seen that YouTube channel called Gunman?
I don't know if I have.
It's like it's like a bougie guy out in like Utah somewhere, and he's got this very deep voice, and like he's got like software engineer glasses. He's tall dude. He's honestly seems like a great guy, right? Nice guy, but his gun builds are like very dedicated to like a specific niche and purpose, and they're always topped out with the most like Gucci aesthetic stuff down to like the rail covers, right? It's just like, I don't know if those are $40 worth, like more than Magpul, but whatever, bro. And this reads that what is in this malt reads to me like he's reading off his AR 300 blackout build, like it's Troubadour Truth with a blue C30. It's a Mod 300 with Moonlight Wheat flashlight, and you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
and like Simpson's Golden Naked Oats.
We got the Naked Oats suppressor on this thing.
Yeah, we got the Simpsons Naked Oats suppressor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't that sound like you're reading off like a Gucci gun build?
It sounds like they've got Gucci malt in this, and also the hops of the Saz and the Tetning. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, whatever's going on in here. But that's it on the can. We talked about Trve Brewing a couple weeks ago, and
when we did Predator.
When we did Predator, and is that when we did Predator? Oh yeah.
True Skull Seeker.
Yeah, was for Predator.
Yep.
And so we, brewery out of Denver, metalheads who just wanted to make beer and have a beer house where they could play their screaming, angry, rowdy music. And so if you go in there, you can get some Music City hot chicken, listen to some metal, and drink some really good beer. It's cold out today. It's supposed to be negative 14 tonight. It hit in the negatives throughout most of the day today.
It's literally the coldest day of the year so far.
Yep,
like without a doubt. And I think it might be colder than last year. I can't think of a day this cold last year.
Yeah, there was some pipes freezing. I got some calls about some frozen pipes and things. But pro tip: when it's this cold out, if you need to get a frosty mug, just go throw that mug outside.
Yeah.
I was afraid it was so cold that I was going to crack the glass because I just washed them with hot water. So I pre-chilled them in the warehouse and then threw them out there because I was like, this temperature swing is going to break our mugs.
I was actually wondering that when you brought them in. I was like, I wonder if the beer is enough of a temperature difference coming out of the fridge that it would break this
just
glass.
Shatters these glasses. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Have you had a sip yet?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting the photo for the Untapped review to make sure. I don't really like to leave unblurry photos, and I like getting the head of the beer poured with the can, But anyways, I gotta say, I just had one sip, and I'm delighted.
Yeah,
I'm coming from a dude who's not a big porter guy. This is yummy.
Oh yeah, because I think my first sip kind of tasted like nothing. Because of how much I was expecting it, how a porter can take over, be so strong.
Bro, it tastes like all right, just lick the foam. Just get the head of the beer. Oh, you don't have a head of the beer left. I was just it tastes like snow, bro. It tastes like fresh snow to me.
It does. I think it's
weird.
It's weird. It's a very weird taste. That's what I'm saying is my first taste tasted like nothing, but then my second taste had the flavor started coming through. And so I think
it honestly tastes like I just took a bite of snow, freshly fallen off of the hood of a car.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's I love this because just like last time with the Skull Seeker, I was so surprised at the taste of the beer. These beers are like metalheads. All right, so it's dude's got his,
all right, here we go, guys.
He's got the gauges and the full, neck piece, and he's just walking around. He's just with this attitude.
He's got the foggy white contacts.
Yeah, exactly.
The evanescence
and
contacts.
Just freaking what is this guy's deal? And then he's got this big don't at me vibe, and then you sit down with him and you have a conversation, and it's just a big softy.
It's a big, nice boy.
It's like the mosh angel. Yeah. I have a theory. Have I told you my theory of the mosh angel?
What?
Every mosh pit where somebody... Now, sometimes the mosh angel doesn't show up, and it's a tragic day. But for the most part, the death toll of the mosh pits stays very low because there's this mosh angel.
Oh.
And when you're out there... Have you ever been in a mosh,
I used to be in one weekly, bro.
In the weekly mosh.
Yeah, I used to be in a mosh pit literally every Wednesday night.
So you're out there moshing, and then it's time for the circle pit. Everybody's running in a circle, grabbing somebody's hair in front of them, just yanking them backwards, and just
never been in that mosh pit. Never been in a mosh pit where people are getting their hair
yanked. Just rowdy, where the mosh pit goes from this was fun to this is scary. You're starting to get trampled on. It's getting scary, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this giant, sweaty, 285-pound, white t-shirted, just sweating out of his mind guy just comes in there and just scoops you up and just rescues you out of the mosh pit. And we called him the Mosh Angel.
Interesting.
Because there's always a Mosh Angel who's just ready to save you.
No, I agree. I agree that they exist and that they are indicative of the culture of that. Hey, we want to have fun, but we don't actually want anyone super hurt. No, dude. Yeah, that's a fun fact. My mom was a nurse, like volunteer nurse, at my youth group where we would have a ton of mosh pits, and we didn't want the youth group to get in trouble because of how many kids were getting hurt. And it was good liability stuff. So like my mom came on Wednesday nights to be a volunteer nurse, and she definitely like fair share of busted lips, bloody noses, check kids for concussions, and it was one of those things where like there was no adults shoving the kids around in the mosh pit in a way that would hurt them, but the kids would get so intense, high schoolers and stuff, that it just, it's that one shove that feels a little too intentional, and then the response shove is only intentional, and then it could break out into something.
Oh yeah.
But we had this dude who was a big metalhead named Teddy, and Teddy's awesome. Teddy worked as a jail deputy, and now I think he's state patrol in Florida. But Teddy had graduated high school and had this, the long, slick black hair, the gauged ears, the piercings, probably about 285, I imagine. But now I just think of him as being larger than life too, because he was just such a big guy, and always just like the sickest metal shirts and artwork. And he was the mosh angel. He would push you into the mosh pit. But he would also be the one to like come over and throw his arms out and like just buffer people away while he like scoops you up and helps you get out. Yeah, he would also laugh at you though. Like if you fell funny, you could always tell it was Teddy laughing at you by how contagious his laugh was. But
see, and that's what I think about this beer. Is it's that this on the outside is what you have, this one thing going on, but the inside is the heart of gold. Yeah.
On the outside is this image depicting the lyrics of being consumed into a black mass, but interior, it's delicious, it's warm, you want to be here, you want to be consumed by this.
Tastes like Christmas.
Yeah.
Tastes like eating snow off of a
mitten. Yeah, it really does.
Just pure thoughts.
Dude, we should send this to True, just see if they feel like,
see what they think.
Like validated, recognized, feel loved, known.
They're metalheads are humans too.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, guys, if you do ever hear this, send us like 10 separate beers so we can have them for the review of 10 episodes of a show, because that'd be awesome. That'd be way more fun than doing 10 kombuchas.
Oh yeah.
Already. But anyways, all right. So swish test.
Yeah.
Because we already went over Trve Brewing last time. Is there anything else you want to highlight?
That's it.
Okay, cool.
That's it. The only thing would be that it's called Dunwich after the Dunwich horror, the monster from this the H.P. Lovecraft novella.
Hey, do this real quick. Did you know H.P. Lovecraft kind of got canceled?
No, I didn't know that.
It's not cool to be a Lovecraft stan.
Really?
Look up what he named his cat. Don't read it.
All right.
Like, don't say it out loud. Just look up H.P. Lovecraft cat's name. Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken. It's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. So that's why he got canceled.
But was he a cool cat?
I'm sure it was.
Was he jazzy?
Well, he was a kid,
Right.
and he named it that. You know what I mean? It was like I feel like that's a result of the time, not the person.
It was 1904.
Exactly.
I'm not in defense of modern usage of this lingo.
Especially naming your pets that kind of stuff. It's pretty derogatory. But it is one of those things around, like, people were like, yeah, he was super racist. Don't you know what he named his cat? I'm like, that's not what he named his cat as, like, an adult man in the 30s or whatever, or the 40s. Like, that was his childhood cat name. And kids are dumb. Kids just repeat what they hear their parents say. Like, I don't know. I don't think he should be canceled for it. But anyways.
Especially at the age of 9. If you could be canceled for something you said 100 years ago at the age of 9, it's a rough world. But
it really is.
Careful out there. Watch your back. So the push it through your teeth test.
Push it through your teeth test. Yeah. So take a little tablespoon into your mouth. Those listening, join us. Get some Dunwich. Take a tablespoon. Swish it side to side between your molars. Let it roll over the back of your tongue, and then push it with your tongue. By putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth and pushing it through your front teeth to get it nice and aerated and foamy and sudsy. Pat, tell me while I do that. Tell me what flavors you're picking up. What notes?
I definitely had the roasted, that roasted taste, but I was getting kind of like the snow ice cream taste too. Like, now I can't get snow out of my head now that you've brought it up.
It's weird, dude. It honestly tastes to me like and this isn't going to sound good, but it tastes really good. Just kind of tastes to me like a malty vanilla oatmeal ice cream. Like, way light on the oats, way more like malty flavor, right? But it does like have just that ice creaminess to it. And I gotta say, that's actually one of the swish tests that isn't like pungent, right? Because the swish test usually brings out like the strongest flavors, which
takes over your mouth.
Yeah, and the strongest flavors aren't, like, when they're brought out like that, aren't usually the most enjoyable. It's just a way to recognize the flavors that are in the beer. And I gotta say, like, that just still tasted really good. And there's not any one flavor that I thought overcame the others, but I love it, dude. I'm gonna have a second one because that. If you ever just love fresh, white, dry snow landing on, like, the scenery.
On your mitten.
All the air is cleaned out. And you're like, fresh snow. I'll bottle it up so I have cold, cool, snowy water. This is what this beer tastes like that and some malt beer.
Yep.
I love it, dude. This is great. All right. Well, I'm ready to give it a review, dude.
Me too. Well,
when it comes to porters,
I'm not ready, but I'm going to do it.
You're not ready?
Well,
I mean, want to sit with it some more?
Well, no, it's time to do it. But and you said when it comes to porters, the hard thing is now we're like it's really good. So I just am torn on what I'm going to go with it. So I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, okay. Well, for those listening, Ken, I'm giving this 2 thumbs up. This is the best damn porter I've ever had. I cannot think of a better tasting porter. Now, that said, I think it's on the lighter side of porters, 5.4%. I definitely think it's on the lighter side, but, like, dude, this is, I'll be honest, I would drink this over Midnight Stallion.
Really?
I like Midnight Stallion, but, dude, I would drink this over it because this is just a little bit cleaner, I think. Not as heavy. And, dude, it's such a, maybe it's a seasonal thing, Maybe it's because it's negative 14.
Yeah, it's really hitting
There's so much snow outside. I had to drive 4-wheel drive to get to the studio tonight. And so it's really just in the vibes, but I'm loving it.
Yep. I'm giving it a 2 as well.
Really?
It's good, dude.
Did I convince you? Did I give you the permission you needed?
No, I was just right there I was like, it's a 2. It's a 2, but I just don't like, I'm kind of want to be stingy with my 2s, you know?
Well, I think it's okay to be stingy, but dude, also like when a 2 comes around, it might not come around again for a long time.
That's true.
I mean, can you think of any other kind of like porter beer that you would recommend someone try first?
Yeah, Breckenridge Vanilla Porter. Just kidding. No, I don't know. I think this is the one. This is the best one I've had. There it is.
I almost unplugged our music in my mic just to like leave, dude.
Leave.
Yeah, I almost got up to go home. Well, hey, Ken, heard it here from Mick and Pat with Brews and Reviews. Dunwich or Dunwich. I don't know. Maybe that's not how you say it, but by Trve Brewing Co. Get yourself a can any way you can. If you write in and send us an email or, leave us a voicemail with your address, I'll send you some beer. I don't think it's a crime to mail beer.
Probably. Well, I don't know.
I mean, we can sign up to get beer mailed to us. And I think as long as people aren't paying us, we're not selling it.
That's true.
We're just mailing it to them if they want it. So, hey, if you want the beer, let us know. We can't mail it internationally. That just makes no sense. So, but if you're in the, 48 Continental and you want a Dunwich, I'll try to find some to mail out to you so you could try. That would honestly be the dream, honestly, for Brews and Reviews, is that we just have a supply of our favorite beers that people can get. And I don't even care if we don't make a profit doing that. Like if it just pays for itself.
Yep.
We can ship out to people so they can have the beers and listen to the reviews.
I like it.
All right. Well, with that said, we're moving in to the meat and potatoes. Our first take of True Detective Season 4, Episode 1. And Season 4 of True Detective is called Night Country. And it is, as all seasons, well, at least so far, unconnected. It's a separate story. And Season 1, 2, and 3 have all been very clear delineations, separate stories occurring at separate times. With maybe some subtle Easter eggs from one season to another, but never the same characters from season to season. However, this season has seen a couple things, which we'll get into, that seem to be like showing much more continuity with season 1. And who knows, we might see a recurring character this season, like from season 1 or something like that. But I definitely wouldn't rule out, especially since in True Detective Season 1, the leads were Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson, and both of them are still producers for the show today, which is pretty cool. But anyways, so plot summary for Season 4 off of the internets. We are introduced to a new set of complex characters. Investigator Liz Danvers, played by Jodie Foster, who, of course, just always crushes it in these crime movies or crime shows. You probably remember Jodie Foster for her outstanding performance in Silence of the Lambs. She is joined by recently busted down to street cop Navarro, played by Kali Rice, who is haunted by a brutal unsolved case from her past. Together, they delve into a chilling series of murders that seem connected to some personal demons they each have. They must navigate a web of deceit, corruption, and supernatural elements in a small, eerie town in Alaska where the line between reality and nightmares blurs. Pat, can you do me a favor? Can you just see if Ennis, Alaska is a real thing or not? I imagine it's not. Ennis.
Anus?
It's Ennis.
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 Ennis. You got it.
But yeah, it takes place in Ennis, Alaska, which is just at the beginning of this show, experiencing its last sunset of the year, where it will then have, from what I understand, it's like 60 days of night, usually. Is like, depending on where you are in Alaska, but I think the longest it goes for is almost like 3 months. And most of Alaska gets anywhere from like 30 days to 60-ish days of nighttime, like a consistent night. But Ennis, Alaska is a small town. It's got a big mine. Seems to be like the main thing that keeps the town thriving. Mine's owned by some wealthy family that I don't even think we get introduced to in this episode. But the plot resolves around this group of men at an Arctic research station. And they're, just probably, I imagine 20, 50 miles outside of Ennis, the town. And one night something occurs and the men disappear. Mm-hmm. And the only real unsettling evidence left behind, I would say, is a whiteboard written on it, "We are all dead," and a cut off Inupiat woman's tongue. And I looked it up. It's not Inuit for this tribe that's mentioned in the show. The proper pronunciation is Inupiat.
All right.
Or Inupiat, I believe. Yeah. But anyways, so that said, it's certainly got a lot of elements going for it. I will say, as someone who watched season 1, parts of season 2, and all of season 3 for True Detective, this seems to be the most supernaturally, I guess, just storyline I've seen in any of the seasons. Immediately from the get-go, it is heavily leaning into the supernatural with what appears to be maybe possession in the beginning opening scenes. Possession of wildlife, possession of we basically get the Inuit version of Jesus casting out Legion into the pigs, and they charge themselves off a cliff. Where the show opens up and we see a herd of caribou get possessed by something
happens
on the wind, and this Inuit hunter sees them run it off of a cliff edge and kill themselves. Which I gotta say, that CGI was weak.
Yep.
You'd think for like the network where True Detective and Game of Thrones are the reason people watch, they're the reason people subscribe to your stuff. You'd think that network who can make those badass dragons would like devote more to some caribou,
especially in an opening scene.
Yeah,
you could get away with it in like episode 7, where it's a real brief, but like to kick off the show, it was a look like I was kind of ready for Santa's sleigh.
Yeah, I felt bad. The caribou and elf looked better. The reindeer and elf looked better.
The other thing as a complaint I always make is they make a couple caribou noises, but they also make a lot of noises that actually a red stag, like in the show, they made them make a red stag roar, and they also, while they're running, had a bunch of like elk bugling in the background. So they just did a classic, like
No, Pat. Yes. Everything with antlers makes the same sounds. I know. All animals with antlers sound like elk.
I just can't believe, like, for the amount of money that they'll spend on technical advisors for like a action movie, they'll have like 28 special operators on set to like tell you exactly how to hold this gun and this thing, whatever. Like, I just get some technical advisors around, like someone who's like spent a lot of time in wildlife, to be like, that's going to be weird.
Yep.
But I got over it fast because I expected it.
Sure. Well, we see that, and then the next scene is this Arctic, very, I would say, high-tech, sophisticated-looking research center. And there's what appears to be one of the members, maybe the cook, recording himself, getting ready to upload another video to the YouTubes or social medias, speaking his native language while recording food. And there's another couple who are doing laundry and watching a movie, working on the computers, doing some equations, studying data. And then this one comes in and he's shivering and kind of throatily, not chanting, but breathing. And he goes still and turns to the one who's making food and says, "She's awake." And then the lights go out, and the next we see, none of them are there. And with that, it is just a very interesting premise in that it is heavily leaning into supernatural, it seems like, rather than perhaps those who believe in the supernatural. Because season 1 is a lot of like, it seems culty, seems paganly, like a lot of pagan rituals around pleasing the Yellow King. These Louisiana Bayou temple that seems like older than us being here on this continent, right? All I said, though, it never explicitly became supernatural that season. There was some illusions, which we'll get into, kind of connections, I think, between season 1 and season 4 here. But all that said, there's also a fucking ghost. Sorry.
There's something.
Apologize my profit. I'm trying to get better, dog. I feel like we are getting better. I feel like it's less and less each episode. Forgive me, Ken. But there is definitely a ghost who leads a woman over to... lights just turned off in our studio.
I think it's so cold. I think the heater blew the breaker.
Oh, blew the breaker?
We're still recording, but let me make sure we're not on. This should be on a different breaker.
All right. Take 5.
I think we're still good.
Okay, don't take 5.
Unless you want...
What do you think?
Unless you want the heat back on.
I mean, we might die without it.
All right. Let's get the
All right,
heat
take
back
5. On. Hey, flick a bullet. Oh, no, bullets are down. God, dude. Literally with just the brief moment that those lights went out,
Did it?
I already feel like 5 degrees colder, which is ironic.
I also kind of got scared because we were talking about ghosts and the lights went out.
Well, back to what we were talking about with the show. Ghost shows up, starts leading a woman named Rose, and seems to be her husband, who is acknowledged to have passed away. And it's not even like there is no debate as an audience viewer, like, oh, maybe it's not a ghost. It's like, no, that's a ghost. That's a barefoot ghost.
He's barefooted.
Yeah, that's a barefoot ghost with hardly any clothes on, dancing in the, Arctic snow. So I don't know, Pat. I kind of am curious. Your first take and all that. We've given a really brief premise of characters and stuff, and we can get more into kind of character first takes. But I was just curious, like, your thoughts on like how heavily supernatural it seems to be this season.
I think that, especially when I started watching the first episode of the first season, and kind of in the first episode of each season, the possibility of supernatural has been on the table just a little bit. So like, I equate it to Scooby-Doo. It's very Scooby-Doo-y, where in the beginning you're like, the only way to explain this is because of the supernatural things going on. And by the end, the smoke and the mirrors and the fog and the mask is lifted and, on this guy. So,
except for Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, where the zombies are real.
I was just about to say, I was literally just about to say Scooby-Doo Zombie Island that scared me as a child because I expected it to not be real, but there was some real stuff. And was that the one with the voodoo dolls too?
No, I don't know. Maybe
there was a voodoo doll Zombie Island one that
because it's Louisiana.
Yeah,
and all of them have a thick Louisiana accent.
And so I what it could be Scooby-Doo still, like, hey, this really feels supernaturally, or it could also be now like we're on Scooby-Doo. On the island.
I think we're on the island. I think we're on the island, bro. I think season 1 of True Detective is like Scooby-Doo. Because it's like, whoa, what is going on? Especially by the end of season 1. And you're like, well, they still got that bad guy.
Right.
And yes, they acknowledge there's a lot more bad guys, but they have a pretty good idea who they are. They've seen them on the tapes.
And they've seen they're human.
Yeah, and they've seen they're human, but like the thing that's always unsettling is like they believe in the Yellow King. And we don't really necessarily see evidence, but we see like what their beliefs drive them to do. Season 2, I don't think there's anything supernatural. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, it seems like a pretty straight murder case, right? And then season 3 was a missing child case. No supernatural elements really that I recall. Dude, this is feeling like the ghost of a child whispering she's awake to the lead. The ghost of a previous victim whispering she's awake to the co-lead, the supporting lead, right? You know,
And a one-eyed polar bear.
the one-eyed polar bear, which is also indicative of the one-eyed polar bear stuffed animal of the dead child.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I mean, there's just like all these things, and I know we're talking scattered, right? Like we're talking scattered here, we're talking scene to scene. If you watched it, you kind of know what we're referencing. If you haven't watched it, you know, I'm trying to be aloof enough to not spoil like the whole premise of the first episode, right? But there's just a lot that seems to be indicative of like what's the word? Not concise, but like maybe a coherent spiritual agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the lead Navarro played by Kali Rice. Excuse me, Kali Rice. She's asked from not necessarily a friend, but someone who, you know, is the victim's brother from the murder case from years ago. He asked her, "Do you believe in God?" And she thinks, like, she doesn't think on it, but she, like, you can see relives a memory. And she says, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Well, at least you're not alone." And she says, no, I am. So is God. And it's like, it's very indicative of, I think, Matthew McConaughey's character with his, like, not necessarily Nietzscheisms, but his, like, philosophical curiosities and wonderings and how he speaks about things and, you know, God and evil in season 1. And she seems to be a Native woman who recognizes Native culture and the value that, like, it holds in her life and the lives of, you know, her friends and family around her. But I don't know if it's indicative to Native spirituality, because there is a close-up of a crucifix when she says she prays. Someone asks her, like, well, what do you ask of God? She says, I don't ask anything. I listen to him when I pray. And by no means am I saying she's a heavily religious character, right? Because, like, we see her go to her friends with benefits house for a quick I don't
Relief.
know. Yeah. I don't even, it kind of seemed angry.
Yeah.
It kind of seemed like she was mad. But anyways, and she clearly struggles with alcohol, like a lot of people do up in Alaska during the long winter season. Most people just try to, I've heard this is like the purchase of alcohol during the winter months because of how dark it is, just are double the summer month purchase because of people just literally try to drink themselves into
through the winter.
Yeah, into like a hibernation.
Yeah.
But all that said, it just so much. There's many more spiritual elements I feel like at stake here that are being not just alluded to, but being like kind of in the face of the viewer. Of like, yeah, dead people, ghost, God, possession.
Native spiritual, you know, animals being possessed by something to throw themselves off. So, yeah, it's like they definitely have a lot of doors open for it, not just one little, like, what is this weird little pagan ritual? You know, it's like this whole big, they've got a lot of different doors open to it.
And how does that sit with you, like, in regards to, like, what you expect from True Detective and, like, the crime drama that it is?
I think that I can accept it.
Yeah.
They will, if once you open this door, it's kind of like doing time travel in TV. Like, okay, you can do that, but now
you gotta do it right.
Now you can really mess it up. It's like covering a Beatles song. Oh, you could do that, but you're opening yourself up to a lot of criticism here.
True.
There's a lot of things you got to get right. So I would say that now they have to either quickly, if it's not supernatural, very quickly kind of explain away some of the things, you know, and or stick to it, play it out, and do it justice. Because I think of one show, you know, this is like a very vanilla show in a lot of ways, but Longmire.
Never watched it.
You know, it's a Wyoming cowboy western,
Law and Order,
modern,
right?
Modern crime show. But they do throw in elements of native spirituality, and they just leave it at that as like, and they just like accept it as this is a part of life. These supernatural things can happen through like visions or hearing something or being, doing a ritual, and I feel like they did it really well. Where it wasn't
they did, okay.
It didn't like ruin the show. We're like, that's just unbelievable,
Sure.
So now that they've entered into this space, they just have to navigate it well to not pull us out of the main story.
Yeah, and I think like a show like Yellowstone, where Yellowstone, some of the characters have, they have like straight up visions and spiritual walkabouts, but it's always remained kind of in the background, and it doesn't ever feel like super influential or imperative to the plot. It might, there's things that are said or during those events where it's like, that might be something. Wonder what that'll turn into. And it's hard to tell if it's really been followed through all the way. And I don't think this season's like that. I think this season is very much like, no, this is the primary plot device. Primary plot device is a like spiritual guiding hand, guiding the detectives, maybe punishing wrongdoers, whatever. It's hard to tell, especially to kind of get into more definitely like spoiler quote unquote territory, but like the victim from this investigation 6 years ago that Danvers and Navarro were working on together. The victim was a native woman who was violently stabbed, murder weapon never found. She was anti the mine in the town, and so she had plenty of enemies. And she was just her tongue was removed, and she was an activist who was speaking out. Yeah, and it was kind of like physical form of showing like a silencing, like shutting her up. And the murder weapon stabbing was like star shaped, and which is a very unique type of it's a tool to stab someone with, right? And so all that said, to find a tongue 6 years later that kind of matches that, like what her tongue would have been like, because the tongue has imprints on it from a specific habitual use of the tongue, which would be to hold fish netting in your mouth while tying knots, and that leaves imprints on your tongue, of course, over time, and that's how they know it's a native woman's tongue when they find it on the crime scene. But not only that, but they see that her jacket had a tear on the left shoulder. And coincidentally, they see in a photo of these researchers from this Salal station that one of them is wearing the same type of jacket and has a little smiley face patch over where the tear would be. And then there's some, as Navarro's investigating, seems to be like some individuals who give her reason to believe that this victim had some kind of interaction with the researchers at Salal, which kind of makes sense because if she's like anti-mine environmental activist, these researchers are all biological environmental researchers at the station, so they probably met or overlapped, right, to some degree. And all that said, part of me is wondering, like, are they going to really lean into this, the spirit of this woman or these native spirits are punishing these men who murdered her and covered her up, and also guiding the detectives to find and resolve the evidence. And it's just kind of one of those things I'm like, you're right. It can be done well, I think, and very engaging and very mysterious. Could also suck. It can unravel. Could also be like way too many plot holes, really confusing. So all that said, there's a lot up in the air. I'm excited. I'm invested. Yeah. Like I definitely want to see the next several episodes to give it its chance to make a good case for itself. But what about you, Pat? What do you kind of think from the first episode? Like did it hook you? Did it engage you? Are you I'm definitely on the fence? I'm definitely hooked, but I'd say like 95% of pilots hook me. Oh,
But-
I mean, that's their job.
but like 20% of episode 2's
Follow through.
follow through for me, so because it's when there's a lot of mystery involved, it's very easy to build a lot of mystery and suspense. It's very hard to, in the end, unravel it all and in a way that does justice to the story. And so I think that with the supernatural piece, I think they're going to have to, some of the stuff's going to have to become not supernatural. Like when the delivery guy shows up and there is like some sort of figure that shoots across. Remember that opens in the background,
Yeah.
I'd say like that thing will not be supernatural.
It's going to be a possessed person.
That's I think that's a person. Like, and I think that I think whoever's doing this is a person.
Well, just like the yellow, not the Yellow King, but the green or the pink-eared monster from season 1, green-eared monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a real person who's seeking revenge for whatever happened. But then I think there's some of these people in the show who are being guided by a spiritual element, and as how they found the bodies, or the polar bear with the eye, and like where the radio went fuzzy and the polar bear came out and all that stuff. So I think that what they need to do is just establish those lines a little more clearly and unfold what they need to not make it hokey.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm excited for the rest of the season. I think that has a lot of potential. Jodie Foster is great in it. Like, she's great in everything, and so it's fun to see her in there. And I think that the rest of the cast is unknown. I haven't seen a single person who's been in something. They've been in some things. And one lady, one of the other biggest actors, the one who found the bodies, she's been in the Harry Potter movies, but she didn't have a huge role. She was Harry Potter's aunt or stepmom or whatever. But nobody else in the shows really is like, oh, I've seen that person, and I think that shows that do this have a lot of good potential for like kind of the Star Wars approach, where we don't have any preconceived notions of who these people are, and they're not typecast, and they can unfold and build their own stories. That scene where that lady has half her head blown off and she's still talking in the flashback.
Oh, that wasn't a lady. That was a guy.
Was a dude?
Yeah.
Huh. Whatever it was.
What you're talking about. The soldier.
The soldier whose head was half gone and was still talking. Mm-hmm. I guess that maybe was her encounter with God. I don't know. Anyways, I think
it is her like saying like whatever that person said to her stuck with her, made her believe in God. You know what I mean?
Anyways, that was graphic. I wasn't quite ready for that, but True Detective does this. They do these things.
Mm-hmm. True Detective is pretty brutal, I think, like more so than most people are used to.
Yeah.
I do want to say shout out to John Hawkes. I know John Hawkes is relatively unknown outside of like cinephile circles and stuff, but he plays the like kind of other police chief, right? Like, seems like there's a lot of tension between him and Jodie Foster's character. But he was in a movie back in 2017. It was the first time I saw him, called Small Town Crime. And it's a pretty good indie crime movie. And he's been in a lot of good stuff, like a lot of great stuff since. Like, he was in Tomahawk, which was like a short film, I know. He was in something else here he was in the Deadwood movie. I think he had a small part in that. I can't remember. But anyways, he's a pretty great actor, and I've always thought he was a very like underrated actor who was definitely could do more, and it's cool to see him here being able to like have an opportunity to do more things. But yeah, everyone else I'm not really familiar with. I haven't seen them in anything else or aware of their kind of portfolio. But with that, I'm also excited. I'm in. It really reminds me of the show that I loved. My wife and I really enjoyed it. Again, another show it's only 2 seasons, and I think the 3rd season is being worked on, but COVID and the writer's strike and all that has really given it delay after delay. But it was called The Terror. And season 1 of The Terror followed the story of the HMS Terror, trying to find the path through the northern ice back to Europe.
That's stressful.
And it has a lot of spiritual, Inuit spirituality that takes place. In fact, like the main antagonist seems to be driven by a spirit, or maybe just the terror of the ice itself is part of this Inuit spirit. But also, there's just, I mean, I don't want to spoil it because it's a really good show and it's one season. It's definitely worth watching. It was on AMC. Season 2 was really good. Followed a family of Japanese immigrants in the U.S. Who got moved the day after Pearl Harbor to like a internment camp. Yeah, and it was, I mean, it's one thing to know, like, I'm not here to defend America's action in doing that, but also it's not like the concentration camps we think of.
Thing. Yeah.
Like, you watch that show, it's supposed to be a very historically accurate show to the internment camps that we had Japanese civilians go to. I do think it was the wrong action. I do think they didn't treat American citizens the way they should be treated. They treated them based on race and assumed allegiance to Japan rather than giving them the opportunity to have the benefit of the doubt, you know, innocent until proven guilty. That said, that show's really enlightening to like, it wasn't Nazi Germany concentration camps. They weren't trying to eradicate the Japanese, you know what I mean? Stuff so like that. So, but it was, both seasons were really good. Season 1 was awesome. Seems very similar to kind of the elements here in season 4 of True Detective. But with that, a couple things I want to note was that I saw this recurring spiral imagery through episode 1 of like when Danver was laying out the pictures to try to put together case details. She, I think, inadvertently lays them out in a spiral. There's a spiral on the foreheads of some victims we see in the episode. There's a spiral drawn on a wall at one point, and then a photograph of a spiral tattoo, I believe, from one of the victims. All of this follows the theme, and the spirals in these images look to be the same spiral of a tattoo from the season 1 pilot, and where like Matthew McConaughey's character sees the spiral tattoo on the back of the murdered woman with the antlers on her head in season 1. As well as at another point in the season, he looks out and watches these birds, these starlings fly, and they fly into the spiral and then break away. And it's like that, along with some of the other trivia things here, where like we see Russ Cole in season 1 said he lived in Alaska. They drink a Lone Star beer primarily in this episode to like also allude to like that was Russ Cole's favorite beer, repeatedly seen drinking. And then I have a quote here. The quote that the episode for season 4 opens up with: "For we do not know what beast the night dreams when its hours grow too long, for even God to be awake." It's said to have been written by Hildred Castaigne, a fictional character in Robert W. Chambers' 1895 collection of short stories, The King in Yellow. King in Yellow, Yellow King from season 1. However, it's acknowledged that this is actually a made-up quote to make a connection between Night Country and season 1. So this quote's a made-up quote from a fictional book in order to connect season 1 and season 4 together. So there's a lot of connections, very intentional, not just, I think, you know, fan service or Easter eggs. Like, I think it's genuinely like they're insinuating like whatever is happening here has direct relation to an overall narrative regarding the King in Yellow in the themes from season 1. So that's kind of where I'm at, you know, with my trivia and things I noted. And that was my like detective sleuthing, right? So
no, I think that's I think there's definitely something where they could either be just tying together the show as you know, in the big picture theme,
but they've never done.
Which
you know what I mean,
right? Or they could be really like, you know, setting it up for more, which could be pretty cool. I think that'd be awesome. And did you notice the Blood Meridian book on the bed?
I did. I said that immediately to Billie Jean. I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw like they were reading, someone was reading Blood Meridian in their bunk at the research station. And when I saw that cover, I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going to be the judge? You know, who's about to become friggin' Glanton?
Oh, yeah. It was going down for him when I saw that, too. It was not good. And I think that's really it for trivia as far as this show goes now. It's been out for a day. And, you know.
Yeah, but I guess I was kind of curious, just like other things from this episode, like themes or anything like that you felt like
I think
were noteworthy.
Yeah, I think in the Blood Meridian vein is like this. What True Detective always is doing is it's exploring the world of evil.
Yeah.
And these people uncovering evil, whether it be, you know, supernatural over to, you know, just disturbed individuals over to, you know, an individual act of somebody versus an overbearing force that is like driving these things. And so I think that's what it's going to be doing once again, is kind of exploring this evil. And it always, the characters in the show, especially the main characters, are very dynamic and combating some form of evil in themselves or some sort of demon in themselves that also kind of always either directly or indirectly ties into the rest of the story as those characters develop. And so we're going to see, I think we're going to see more of that as the season goes on as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, with that, I think I'm going to say give it a watch if you like true crime stuff and you're not easily turned off from a show by depictions of violence or you know, scenes of, I want to say rape or anything like that. Like, I can't remember any time where I saw specifically sexual violence in the show. It was alluded to.
It's
like alluded, like people were kidnapped, people were raped.
Right.
You know, in season 1, they're like, you never see what the detectives see, but you know detectives are seeing a group of people, I think, torture and rape someone. But again, it's so hard to tell because you never see the tape itself. You just know what they're watching.
Right.
From what like their reaction is, you know, unsettled. And so with that, like, this show is not for the faint of heart. It's easily not for the people who are easily disturbed or get nightmares from whatever they watch on TV. So, but if you like true crime, if that's up your alley, if the philosophy and engagement and analysis of evil in the world and attempting to overcome evil, right wrongs, if all that is engaging to you, then, or puzzles. I think this whole season is going to be really puzzling, which I think True Detective season 1 and 3 did a really good job of making big puzzles. If that's how you feel, then you should watch it. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I'd say it felt like True Detective.
Yeah.
You know, I watched it
spiritual, like Church of True Detective.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, with that, I don't know. I guess let's, you know, Pat, let's take this like let's see what episode 2 is. But I wouldn't be opposed to be doing like what we did with Last of Us and trying to get a beer for each episode. If it turns out to seem like it's carrying its steam. But I don't know. How do you feel? Yeah,
I feel well. We could either do maybe not all, but you know, like we could take it. I think we will be revisiting at least for a season recap. We may be doing each episode,
sure,
but we probably most likely will hit it with a couple. You know, we could be likely be doing a couple. You know, little halftime, third quarter, fourth quarter type reviews. You know?
Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, Ken. Hope you enjoyed the show as well. Hope you enjoyed the beer. And we look forward to talking with you. Definitely follow us on YouTube and the podcast networks. Give us reviews and leave us a voicemail on our website. We appreciate all that you guys do as our listeners. We look forward to catching up with you next time.
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.